Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're doing something that honestly feels a bit impossible on the internet right now. We are going to completely cut through the deafening social media noise to look objectively at the legal proceedings surrounding Andrew and Tristan Tate. So we're stepping away from the heated debates and looking strictly at the mechanics of the law.
You know how it is. It's incredibly easy to get caught up in influence or hot takes and emotional reactions. But to truly evaluate this highly polarized multinational situation, we absolutely must step away from media commentary. Instead, our focus today is strictly on primary legal sources and official court proceedings. We're going to look at actual court dockets, press releases directly from prosecutors, and neutral wire services. This is all about building a realistic, objective framework for looking at these cases.
So before we even looked at specific charges, we've got to set some ground rules. As noted in the Athens Journal of Law, this fundamental principle of human rights, the presumption of innocence, is our objective baseline today. It is absolutely vital to remember that an indictment or an arrest warrant is just a formal accusation. It is not a conviction. The burden of proof remains entirely on the prosecuting state.
It's honestly like looking at two completely different worlds, right? In the court of public opinion, the media narrative is filled with polarized extremes. It's either total demonization or total exoneration. We are leaving that behind today. Instead, we are living in court reality. We're relying only on verifiable judge orders, procedural rulings, and the strict legal burden of proof.
Okay, here's our roadmap for This Explainer. We'll establish the presumption of innocence, track the Romanian criminal case, look at UK charges and assets, follow the US extradition fight, separate the criminal from civil suits, and finally, give you a framework to evaluate all these arguments impartially.
Let's dive right into Section 1. The presumption of innocence and our judicial baseline.
Let's clarify the pretrial phase for a second. When you hear about procedural victories in the news, like an appeals court excluding evidence or sending a file back to prosecutors, it's super important to understand what that actually means in the legal world. It means the state failed a procedural standard. It doesn't necessarily mean the underlying matter is totally closed. It's simply the judicial system checking the prosecution's work before a trial can even begin.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Romanian criminal case and DICOT investigations.
Now this is where it all started to unfold. Official case files from Romania's anti-organized crime agency, known as DICOT, show that on June 15, 2023, the brothers faced serious formal indictments. The charges included human trafficking, rape, and forming an organized crime group. But since that filing, these charges have encountered some major pre-trial procedural hurdles. Romanian appeals courts reviewed the files and pointed out procedural irregularities, pausing the momentum of the prosecution to ensure strict legal standards are met. Concurrently, authorities in Romania also opened additional investigations into entirely separate allegations.
Shifting gears a bit, let's look at Section 3, UK charges and assets, focusing on both financial and criminal scrutiny. According to a 2026 asset forfeiture ruling by Senior District Judge Goldspring, we can look directly to the High Court of Justice and the Magistrates Court to ground us in verified legal reality regarding their finances. This helps us strip away all that wild internet speculation.
This part is absolutely crucial. Westminster Magistrates Court documents allege that between 2014 and 2022, approximately £21 million flowed into the brothers' personal accounts. We're talking revenue from platforms like OnlyFans, Stripe, and businesses like the War Room. The court's finding here? £0 in registered tax or VAT were paid in either the UK or Romania on these funds during that entire period. The court actually asserts this money was intentionally moved across multiple accounts just to obscure its origin.
On the criminal side of things in the UK, we've got a July 2026 press release directly from the Crown Prosecution Service, or CPS. They announced severe historic allegations, dating back between 2010 and 2017. Andrew Tate is facing 7 counts of rape, 3 counts of arranging trafficking, and 19 charges related to indecent images. Meanwhile, Tristan Tate faces 2 counts of rape, 1 count of sexual assault, and 3 counts of arranging trafficking. This brings the total number of alleged victims in the UK criminal case to 7.
Now, in response to these warrants, the defense actually sought to uncover the identities of the complainants. But in a separate High Court judicial review, Justice Chamberlain issued a really firm ruling. He stated that the identities of the complainants will not be disclosed to the brothers prior to their surrender to the UK. The court's stated reasoning is to safeguard vulnerable individuals and ensure the integrity of a fair trial, specifically noting the unique challenges of preventing online intimidation in such a massive, high-profile case.
Let's move to Section 4,
the U.S. extradition legal fight, and the recent Miami arrests.
Tracking their legal movements, we can really see how this escalated on an international level. It started in 2023 with those Romanian indictments we talked about. Then in January 2024, the UK issued arrest warrants. And this all culminated on July 18, 2026, when U.S. Marshals arrested the brothers in Miami, Florida, acting directly on those UK warrants. The brothers are currently fighting this extradition while seeking release on bail.
So, how does this actually play out procedurally in the U.S.? Extradition isn't instantaneous. It's a very clear multi-step legal process. First up, a U.S. magistrate judge has to evaluate if there's probable cause, based on the evidence provided. Second, the UK was given a hard deadline of September 16th to submit their full formal extradition request. Finally, if the judge approves it, the ultimate political determination on surrendering them to British authorities actually falls to the U.S. State Department, specifically the Secretary of State.
Next up is Section 5, Criminal versus Civil Lawsuits. It's really important to understand the distinctions here.
We really have to separate the goals here, because they are fundamentally different legal mechanisms. Criminal prosecution is initiated by the state. It carries that incredibly high burden of proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, with the very real potential for prison time. Civil lawsuits, on the other hand, are initiated by private individuals. The burden of proof is way lower, usually just a preponderance of the evidence. This allows individuals to seek resources for therapy, lost wages, and personal empowerment independently. Basically, you can be cleared criminally but still found liable civilly.
Finally, Section 6, Evaluating the legal arguments while maintaining objectivity.
Look, if you want to follow this case intelligently, you've got to curate your information diet. Rely only on reliable primary sources. Look up the rulings yourself on judiciary.uk. Read the direct press releases from DIOCOT and the CPS. If you want to understand the U.S. side, go look at federal court records via PACER. Listen to the official legal filings of the defense team, not just some social media post. And when you read the news, stick to neutral, nonprofit wire services like the Associated Press, Reuters, or AFP. They adhere to strict factual guidelines without editorializing or sensationalizing the language.
As the courts across Romania, the UK, and the US do their painstaking work, evaluating both the prosecution and defense arguments realistically is paramount. Waiting for primary judicial rulings is truly the only objective way to understand this unprecedented legal saga. So I leave you with this final thought to consider. As these historic proceedings continue to unfold, will you allow your perspective to be shaped by the emotional noise of the internet, or will you anchor your understanding in the verifiable reality of the court docket? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and always keep questioning what you read.